She just claimed that there's no problem. So she's spreading misinformation. We're at a time where I think that we need to bring some decorum to this place. And what the minister said.
We finally got to him. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we got Mark Carney. Surprising enough, he's in the House, debating with Pierre Poilievre, at least for a little bit. But more importantly, Sean Fraser gets to hear firsthand from a Conservative, his own riding, the story of that monster in the news recently that he did bad things to younglings here in Canada. He gets called out for the lack of protection for Canadians, the lack of justice in Canada. And you can see Fraser starting to well up. The deafening silence in the House speaks volumes. Let's jump into this.
How big is the deficit that the Prime Minister is running?
Mr. Speaker, looking forward with the Minister of Finance to releasing the budget on the 4th of November. That budget will contain the biggest investment in this country.
We know what that means. Biggest investment. This is going to be an earth-shattering deficit.
This country's future in a generation. Hear, hear. Building homes, building new port infrastructure, new trade corridors, new energy infrastructure, building the strongest economy in the G7.
Hear, hear. Well done. Well, surely if he was such an expert, he would know the size of his own deficit. It's now halfway through the fiscal year. 6 months have gone by, and he has announced $40 billion of additional spending. Deficits drive up inflation, grocery prices, housing costs, and interest rates. They drive out investment from our country and uncertainty that destabilizes our economy. That's why every other prime minister in Canadian history has announced the deficit at the beginning of the fiscal year. We're 6 months in. Does he even know the size of his own deficit?
The Right Honourable Mr. Speaker, I know many things.
Look at this guy, so arrogant, so smug. This cheeky smile here, Mr. Globalist Banker. His body language here says it all.
I know many things. And one of the things I know, the member opposite, the leader of the opposition, just mentioned interest rates. One thing I know is that Canadian interest rates are much lower than American interest rates. They're lower because this country's fiscal situation is strong, because this government has a plan to grow this economy, and we will keep doing it.
So Bank of Canada just dropped the interest rates by 0.25 today, but they basically had their arm twisted to do it.
For the last couple of meetings, we considered two alternatives: hold the policy rate where we are, or cut the policy rate. I think, what tipped the balance really in favor of a cut this time was there was a clear sense that the balance of risk has shifted. And I outlined the main reasons for that. Labor market has softened further. On inflation, the inflation picture hasn't really changed a great deal since where we were last January.
So basically what I see from this, inflation's going up, but the carbon tax being removed reduced the inflation, and thus it's equaling out right now.
Speaker, the collapsing economy is bringing down interest rates, but the financial expert doesn't even know what his own deficit is. But another financial expert spoke yesterday. The parliamentary budget officer said the deficit will absolutely be higher because of additional spending. He said he doesn't know what the government's fiscal anchors are because they do not exist. He says the labor market sucks and wages are not going up. These are quotes. Is this why Liberal members on the committee who heard those truth bombs threatened that the Prime Minister would fire the parliamentary budget officer after 166 days?
I don't recognize that, Mr. Speaker. I don't recognize that characterization. I just appointed the parliamentary budget officer, and this government does have fiscal anchors. This government has fiscal anchors. We are going to spend less so the country can invest more. We are going to balance the operational budget in 3 years. We are going to have a declining level of debt, and we're going to do all of that because we're building the strongest economy in the G7 for Canadians.
I don't think Mark Carney understands how he appears to Canadians. He clearly went to the performative school of Justin Trudeau. He's like hamming it up, but he's not an actor. He's not a trained actor like Trudeau is. He just comes off as disingenuous. He's talking really loud and bolsterous and flailing his arms around, but clearly that's not how he talks. If you see him talk in any interview, he's very calm, collected. The way he speaks is very contained.
The Prime Minister made the appointment of the parliamentary budget officer temporary. so that he could hold a sword over his head and threaten him if he speaks the truth about the financial mess the Prime Minister has made. That's what you remember? You know, to a government that doesn't know how to count, there is nothing more terrifying than a man armed with a calculator. And this Prime Minister wants to silence the parliamentary budget officer from telling the truth about the fiscal mess that he has created under his watch. So will he, Mr. Speaker, legalize math, make the parliamentary budget officer's position permanent, and tell us how big the deficit is?
Pierre is coming out swinging here. He gave Carney a couple of days leeway. Now he's not messing around.
Mr.
Look at this. This is all a joke to Carney. This whole situation is a joke. Mr. Moneybags, what are you worth, Carney? $300, $400, $500 million? $800 million? This guy doesn't give a crap. He's using us like his little piggy bank, squeezing us dry.
Mr. Speaker.
With respect to consultations on making the parliamentary budget officer's position permanent, I look forward to speaking to the leader of the opposition, le chef de bloc,
The leader of the Bloc Québécois.
Of other parties in Parliament, so we have a consensus on that appointment. I welcome that opportunity. We will do it at this. Yes, because this is the new spirit, Mr. Speaker, the new spirit of collaboration that has been put forward by the minister.
This is coming from the guy who said Canada exports more semiconductors to America than any other country. This guy's a chronic liar.
The Prime Minister promised to cap spending, but is now set to double the deficit. Another broken promise, another Liberal bait and switch. Here's what the PBO, Canada's financial watchdog, said about the PM's economic record. Quote, the deficit will absolutely be higher. Quote, I don't know that the government currently has fiscal anchors. Quote, the labor market sucks. Wages are not going up. My question is this, how high will the deficit go? And what is this government's fiscal guardrail?
Hear, hear. So happy to see that our Conservative colleagues are so eager to see the great budget we're going to present on the 4th of November. Mr. Speaker, this is good news for Canadians, indeed. It's going to be a generational investment in the future of this nation, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build our country. We're going to protect our communities. We're going to empower Canadians.
This is the same crap we've been hearing for 10 years. Just the same. And on that, we're getting some rumors coming out here. Brian Lilley posting this. This is what I'm hearing. Bill Blair will soon depart Ottawa and take up a new position at the High Commission in London. Ralph Goody will retire, who's currently in that position. Also, Stephen Guilbeault will leave Ottawa, but not until he gets his pension vesting after October 19th, 2025. So yeah, there's a bunch of these liberal crumb snatchers who are all getting their pensions on October 19th. Sadly, add in Chrystia Freeland. There's also rumors of Jonathan Wilkinson going out. It seems Mark Carney, he might have pulled the power move and is trying to clean the deck. Is Karina Gould out the door too? Seems like Carney really wants to clean this off and really present this as Canada's new government, getting rid of all the Trudeau Liberals. Maybe Carney's pissing people off by removing EV mandate, carbon tax. He's going to bring this back. Carney's goal is net zero, so I don't know why they're freaking out, and they created that new environmental caucus to discuss among themselves the environment. But this is interesting. We'll see how this develops. Blair's an embarrassment and not deserving of that post. Yeah, he is.
We're going to build like never before. We're going to build.
They're not doing anything.
Mr. Speaker, the PBO confirmed the deficit will be higher. Reports indicate it could even push $100 billion. Canadians know that massive Liberal deficits drive inflation. They pay for it at the grocery store as food inflation is 70% above target. And as a result, 25% of households can't afford to put food on the table. Will the Prime Minister admit that having no fiscal anchor and doubling the deficit will only drive inflation higher?
Hear, hear. Speaker, I'd like to thank the colleague for giving me the opportunity to share good news with this House, Mr. Speaker. In fact, the rate has gone down, Mr. Speaker, 2.5% today. The Bank of Canada just announced, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, he's not answering the question. He's just going to talk about that. These guys are going to blow up our deficit beyond belief. Inflation will go through the roof.
Consumers are celebrating. Businesses are celebrating.
Nobody's celebrating right now, Champagne, except for you and your cronies.
One thing that it tells to all Canadians, our plan is working. We're going to build.
Their plan is not working. But actually, to be fair, their plan is working. They are being enriched by their policies. Their well-connected insider friends are also being enriched. So their plan is working. I'll be fair. Yep.
Canada's top budget watchdog has painted a dismal picture of the Prime Minister's economic record, saying, quote, the labor market sucks and wages are not going up. And it gets worse for this Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, with his big plan to split the budget into operating and capital. But the PBO was not fooled by the smoke and mirrors. He said, quote, the bottom line of government will not change. The international public sector standards that everyone uses to measure the deficit and levels of debt will not change. Turns out debt is debt, Mr. Speaker. So can the Prime Minister tell us just how much Liberal debt he's adding to Canada's bottom line?
Yeah.
Conservatives hammering hard on this today. Mark Carney, though, he took a couple questions. That was good enough for him.
Mr. Speaker, in the last election only 6 months ago, Canadians chose the Liberal government. They chose the Liberal government because they know they need investment. They need investment in the big projects that are going to drive.
No, Canadians were tricked once again because you guys used fear and dirty tactics. You ripped off the funny mustache guy from WW2. That's what happened here. You guys are using dirty psychological strategies drummed up from conflict times of the past.
Those great jobs all across the country. They need investment in the skills training that helps evolve.
No, we need you guys to stop spending money and get the heck out of the way and get rid of all these stupid policies that limit everything and stop bringing in gangster goons, goblins, and terror lords into our country. That's what we need you to do. Instead, they do everything possible to make life unaffordable in our country, bringing in people who are ending Canadians on a daily basis, robbing us blind. You got a guy who just beat up a Jewish man, not found guilty. Nothing wrong there. You're completely allowed to beat up Jewish people in Canada, but not the other way around. I mean, look at this story here. Chris Stacey posting this one here. $150 fine for waving a Canadian flag at an unapproved location. This is Canada now, where we have Palestinian protesters blocking our streets, major infrastructures, people potentially dying because ambulances can't get through the roads, but Canadians get fined $150 for waving a flag. Welcome to Canada. Somebody send this to their CBC watching Liberal granny and tell her to wake up before it's too late. Listen to this Sean Fraser, this buffoon, saying the obvious here. He gets the Conservatives applauding him.
Dangerous people who commit serious crimes should not be walking free in our streets if they pose a public safety threat. Mr. Speaker, I have good news for my colleague opposite. He will need to...
After the first couple of seconds, I couldn't hear. So would the minister like to start from the top?
Mr. Speaker, I thank my Conservative colleagues for the applause. I hope they will meet that with their votes when it comes time to support the legislation.
This buffoon trying to downplay this humiliation. This guy having the audacity to say that criminals shouldn't be walking the streets. Meanwhile, criminals are walking the streets. People are getting beat up. People are getting ended. People are getting attacked. Homes being invaded. Cars stolen. It all goes unchecked. Thanks to Justin Trudeau, Liberal policies, and now this guy. He could turn this around right now if he wanted to. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want Canadians to be safe in Canada. Otherwise, he would fix this problem yesterday.
My friend opposite, Mr. Speaker, this legislation will include serious reforms to make stricter bail conditions for people who are repeat violent offenders. It will have harsher sentences for those people who would pose risk to the public safety. Mr. Speaker, we will do what we can to strengthen Canada's laws. We will do what we can to bring the provinces along with us. My only hope is that all members of this House will do the right thing and vote for the legislation when it comes forward.
It's so rich coming from this guy.
Mr. Speaker, Daniel Senecal raped and choked a 12-year-old boy in my riding. He was sentenced to 18 months, but was released 6 months early. While on parole, this monster attacked and sexually abused his next victim, little E, 3-year-old little girl, almost killing her, leaving her fighting for her life before the firefighters arrived on the scene. This failed Liberal justice policies have allowed repeat child offenders to be let out early. Will the Liberals introduce changes to the criminal code today and bring home justice for victims like little E?
Wow, deafening silence in the House of Commons. This story is disgusting, and what he left out there is the guy on the second victim, he used a screwdriver. This is what Sean Fraser thinks is okay in our country. Totally fine, go ahead. Town rapists, let them run and flourish around the city. We don't want to put those people in jail.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Wow, look at this. The look on his face, the Conservatives all standing right now, staring him down. What will he say to that?
Mr. Speaker, I sincerely thank my honourable colleague for raising this question on the floor of the House of Commons. And such horrific acts can be met only with condemnation from members of Parliament from both sides of the aisle. As we seek to move forward with legislation, we will be restricting conditional sentence orders when it comes to sexual crimes and crimes against children. We will do what we can to make sure that we work with provinces so they can properly fund their systems as well, to ensure that we work together to keep Canadians safe. My hope is that crime and horrific circumstances such as these will not be used as partisan fodder. I will work with my colleague opposite to advance kind of changes that will keep children safe in this country, sincerely.
Yeah, partisan fodder. Give me a break. You can see the look in his face right here. He knows he's responsible. That's what this face looks like to me. As you just heard there, he's going to stick with his buddy Mark Carney, rolling out his agenda here. No point having any sort of real protections for Canadians in our country here. We just go back and look at Fraser's face here. His jaw is slightly askew to the side there. You can see he's chomping down on this side a little bit. You can see the color is changing a little bit in his face. I think he's pictured his own family, his own daughter. I'm assuming he has a daughter. He's got a couple of kids. I think he pictured his own kids being victim of this monster, and it finally hit him. But I don't think he's going to change. I don't think he's going to do a single thing different. He's not going to change the laws. For a moment here, he's feeling what it's actually like for the victim's parents, knowing they were helpless to attack. They didn't know what was happening in the case of the second victim. That monster snuck in the second-story window, did all of that without the parents knowing. He's going to go to sleep tonight, at least for one night, realizing that he's part of the problem, not the solution. So this guy gets drilled over and over by different conservatives. He's actually got a conservative speaking French, yet he replies in English. I mean, listen to this.
Actually restricts the use of conditional sentencing orders for serious crimes such as attempted murder, such as advocating genocide. Mr. Speaker, we want to continue to put measures in place that will have harsher sentences for violent repeat offenders. We
hear it every day in the streets, man. If you're Jewish in this country, you basically got to stay hidden in your house because there's monsters in the street foaming at the mouth looking for the Jewish community.
Also advance reforms that are going to help make it harder to get bail for people who pose a public safety threat. Mr. Speaker, I would ask that all members of this House hold up partisan rhetoric out of such a serious issue as public safety and get together to advance reforms that will protect.
This is the biggest liar in Canadian history. This guy just lies through his teeth, doesn't care about Canadians. The question is, if this happened to his family, to him in his house, if he was met with an intruder with pew-pews, with baseball bats, with a crowbar, with an axe at his door at 2 in the morning, would he change the laws? Or would he still be okay with this situation?
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' talk is as empty as Canadians' cupboards. It took 40 years before Toronto's largest food bank saw 1 million annual visits. But under this Liberal government, demand has exploded. 2 million, then 3 million, and now 4 million visits from hungry Canadians. The Prime Minister says, judge me on food prices. And Canadians are judging him as they stand in the longest food bank lines this country has ever seen. How many more will be forced there when he doubles the deficit?
One of the best ways to deal with food inflation is to give Canadians real opportunities. And that's what we're doing by building a strong economy, a building economy, Mr. Speaker. We are building big, building bold, and building right now.
So something to note here, I don't know who this guy is. And if we look earlier in this, obviously I'm not showing you the whole thing here, but she stood up to speak as well, which I don't recognize her either. I think Mark Carney's scrubbing the deck here. He wants to get rid of the recognizable Liberals so it looks new to Canadians.
Speaker, that minister should go to a food bank and tell Canadians lining up there just how good they have it. Well, he pats himself on the back. Food bank workers on the front lines are calling the situation horrific. 1 in 4 households are struggling to afford food. Parents are skipping meals so their kids can eat. And while families go hungry, Liberal spending keeps driving grocery prices even higher. Will this Liberal government keep spending until every single table in this country is empty?
Ooh. The main argument that comes from the Liberals is like, oh yeah, we've got a school food program. It's like, no, parents can't afford food either. It's both. I would love to have the data across Canada of how many people living in poverty voted for the Liberals. That's what I want to know. Are people brainwashed and just don't know, or are all the people struggling to pay the bills voting Conservative?